Hello, starting this video with a somewhat old test pattern, a survival from earlier days of television, but then so am I. This is first in a series about a intended Bible translation project. And in the few minutes of this video, I'll go through the beginning of the idea for this Bible translation. Well, I guess any translator does something like this because they're not quite satisfied with the existing resources. My goal is under why to be contemporary, modern language, yet accurate as possible. I don't know of any translation that does both of these things adequately. Number one, I'm going to base on an existing translation in the public domain, the ASV, published 1901, widely available on the internet. So I can do a translation project using it in a derivative manner? Yes. And two, I plan to set out and apply a number of rules to the text to achieve the goal. And as a matter of fact, once I set up the rules properly, the new Bible translation can be computer generated. In other words, take a file containing the public domain translation, apply the rules in succession, and there's the new translation. There will be some rules that apply to the entire translation, but some apply only to Old Testament or New Testament. Here is an Old Testament specific one. The translation of Jehovah, the divine name, replace Jehovah throughout with Lord, no article. That will make the translation Lord function like a name does in English. We don't, in English, as opposed to other languages, tend to use proper names with articles. In other words, I just say, my dog Spot, not my dog the Spot. And this is intended to be, in the Old Testament, the unique translation of the divine name Jehovah, only referring to Israel's God. This is important enough before I go further to illustrate. Here I have an ASV Bible, which is open to a passage in Joshua. Now, look at, how they do it. There's no ambiguity here. Wherever the divine name, the Tetragrammaton, appears in the Old Testament, they render that Jehovah. So, to the reader or listener, there's never any ambiguity. There failed not aught of any good thing which Jehovah had spoken unto the house of Israel. All came to pass. All right, that's the last verse of Joshua 21. Now, compare what another translation, which I tend to like, does things. That's the RSV, the Bible of my childhood, by the way. You see the last verse there. Not one of all the good promises which the Lord had made to the house of Israel had failed. All came to pass. You see, they replace the Tetragrammaton, the divine name in the Old Testament. They translate it by the Lord. And to indicate to the reader that underlying is the sacred name, the Tetragrammaton, they do put Lord in small caps. But to the listener, that gives no help, and it leads to ambiguity sometimes in just hearing as opposed to reading with your volume of the Bible before you. Hearing creates some ambiguity. Now, I plan for in the Old Testament this translation of Jehovah to be unique and exclusive. Wherever Jehovah occurs in original text, the reader can be confident that Lord without the article is the translation, only referring to Israel's God, and that creates a problem to be covered in future videos, future episodes. That means right away that look at the text of the ASV. There are other places in the English text, after all, the English translation and the English translations, what the ASV is. There are other places in the text where Lord occurs. And to avoid ambiguity, which is kind of a goal of mine in this project, these occurrences of Lord in the text need to be replaced by other translation or translations. Now, what type of translation or translation replacements for the existing occurrences of Lord in ASV Old Testament? Stay tuned for another episode. Till next time.